Welcome to They Mostly Pot Out at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 117. That's 117 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. After the first two entries in the House franchise, is there any blood yet to be squeezed from this stone? Third one attempted to hide its affiliation with the franchise completely, while the fourth one retconned and shoehorned the original actor back in for seemingly no reason. But so join us as we watch the second half of the franchise and see if there should have been an addition added to this house.
Ooh, I appreciate the pun.
See, sometimes I look out for you. Okay, so we're doing two movies: House 3, The Horror Show, and House 4, which it technically has the title of House 4 the Repossession, but I never saw the repossession anywhere. It just said House 4.
See, it's because it's a play on words, right? The house is repossessed.
I mean, I guess so. I'm just saying, like, the Horror Show, it says only The Horror Show. It does not say House 3 at all, unless you're like, looking deeply into the backstory of the film. But yes. House 4 is only House 4, and it's hard to even find the secondary title of that, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, mine and your favorites, Alan Smithy, is back.
Yes, he is. I'll just say it right now, for the wrong one.
Correct. Yes, absolutely correct. But I did see an Alan Smithy in there, so you're always in for a good time when you see Alan Smithy.
Poor Alan Smith. I mean, he has the biggest resume of everyone.
So. I know, yeah. He's all over the map, every genre, time period.
Yeah.
All right, so we will start off with House 3, The Horror Show, or as if you were going to search it or find it anywhere, it will just say The Horror Show, because it tries to forget it's House 3. Came out in 1989, starring Lance Henriksen, who everybody knows, and the one replicant from Blade Runner. I mean, I know he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but I only recognize him as the first replicant to get killed in Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Okay, so this movie really, really tries hard to separate itself from the wackiness of the past two houses by immediately throwing you into a scene where there's like body parts being chopped up and blood literally covering every surface of a kitchen. I mean, we have hands being deep fried. We have heads being deep fried. I mean, it's like everything you can imagine horrible happening to a person in a kitchen is happening, right? Lance Henriksen is a detective tracking down a serial killer who likes to kill his victims with a meat cleaver.
Yes, he does.
So they're searching him down. Him and his partner, who are detectives. They come on scene after two other police officers had already come on scene. And the body parts I was describing before are the pieces of the police officers that have already been chopped up and cooked while they're looking for this missing girl. So, him and his partner, of course, as detectives always do, they split up. Lance Henriksen, of course, then finds his partner with his arms chopped off.
But still tied behind his back.
All right. Yeah, I don't know if they were supposed to be chopped off, but it looked like they were aiming for that.
Yes.
But yeah, so he, of course, dies. And then he gets stuck in a standoff with Meat Cleaver Max, who is the, killer, the aforementioned Blade Runner guy.
With the worst laugh possible.
Yes, that is wow. But anyway, so he's holding a child hostage with a meat cleaver to her neck, and it's kind of a standoff. He's like, "Oh, throw down your gun," blah blah blah, and then we cut away. Right. We don't really get the ending to this scene until later in the film, but it doesn't matter because nothing really happens. It's like they struggle. The girl, gets away, and then they like fight each other, and then he tracks him down.
Well, her head gets cut off. He tosses it at her.
Yeah, what? So he gets caught, right? That's like the whole thing. So it cuts to this is I don't know. It doesn't say how long it is later, but they do specifically say that he has been uh, out of field work, or I guess I think he said he's been a leave of absence completely since that
Since
night.
right, because he is like trauma,
Right.
rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, okay, it's messed up stuff happened, but like I think they kind of like misunderstood how long it takes a death row inmate to actually get executed. Right?
Clearly, the answer is the next day.
Right. Yeah. It's like, maybe 6 months. It feels like maybe 6 months he's been out of work or something. Like that's like the longest time here. But I mean, in reality, it would be like decades.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he wakes up and goes and he witnesses the execution, and he's supposedly after this execution, he's gonna go right back to work. He thinks that after he witnesses him die, his nightmares are going to stop, and then he can go right back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes and he watches the execution. It's an electric chair execution, and he like somehow survives like the first couple of shocks, and then they like do a super shock, and he like manages to stand up and like walk towards the audience while he's slowly like crispifying, and he's got enough juice left in him to be like, I'm gonna tear your whole world apart.
Lucas, I'm gonna get you.
Right. Yeah, it's
Cheesy.
it's very dramatic. Yeah, cheesy, but not schlocky.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, we're hard departure from the first two films.
Right.
So okay, he witnesses that. That's horrible and everything, but you know what? He's fine. He's gonna go back to work. So he attempts to go back to work, and then he has a kind of a fit where he like almost strangles his wife. and then so they're all like, maybe this isn't a good idea. But anyway, they kind of get, which is interesting. I had to look it up because I was like, I wonder which movie came out first. Technically, this movie came out before Shocker.
It's Shocker, yes.
Right. This movie came out in April. Shocker came out in December of the same year.
Right.
So this movie, I don't know the ideas. Who knows how long things were in hell of development hell? I don't know, but I'm just saying the issue, the kind of root of the horror here is very very similar between the two. And I looked it up, and again, this movie came out April. Shocker came out December, so it's got months on it. But as far as the idea, who knows?
Right.
But anyway,
it's just one of those things where you have like there happens a lot. Like similar movies come out at the same time.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens is his ghost somehow lives on through the electricity. And I guess the only kind of loose connection we have to the house title is that he somehow gets into Lance Henriksen's house, specifically the fuse box in his basement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the loose link we have now. This could be a house movie. Is that somehow Meat Cleaver Max is now like somehow living in the electricity in his basement, but it's more like he lives in the furnace.
Yes, yeah. But we'll
So,
get to that. We'll get to the furnace of it all.
It's very confusing. But anyway, okay. So anyway, he witnesses that he's still not doing good.
No.
And so he's his daughter, he decides to go out for a night on the town with his wife to try to like clear his mind. The same day he witnesses an execution, he's going to go on a date with his wife. So he goes on a date with his wife, and he's got a son and a daughter. The son is like, I don't know, 12, 13.
And a rapscallion.
Yeah, exactly. He's scamming companies for free shit, complaining about I got rat hair in my food or whatever. And he's got a lot of like really bad metal posters, Kiss makeup and shit all over the place. Anyway, and his daughter is of prime. I don't know what do you call that, like courting age, right? Who knows how old she's? 16, 17. Well, I don't know.
Right.
So she decides that while her parents are out, that her boyfriend is going to come over. The boyfriend can't wait, and he, kind of hides in the basement. Jumps out and like kisses her while she's looking for her dress in the basement. Basically, she tells him, "You can't come out until my parents leave, so just stay down here." So she goes upstairs. She gets all ready. She goes down. She can't find him, and she's like, "Oh, whatever. I guess he blew me off." Right.
Mhm.
So later on in the night, after the date, the dad comes home. Again, he tries to sleep. He can't sleep. Wakes up with fucking nightmares. I think he tries to attack his wife again. Whatever. But he wakes up all sweaty, and he's like, he's like, I gotta go for a walk. So he walks into the basement because He hears something, and he goes down there, and this is when the furnace like opens up and starts like talking to him. So the meat cleaver Max is now talking to him and threatening him and his family through the furnace.
Which isn't electric.
Right. No. It looks like it was made in like 1850. It's very old, and it needs to get the door checked because every time you look at the furnace, the fucking door swings open, which is dangerous on an old timey furnace.
Yeah, especially with how much the flames come out of it.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. You should like tape that closed or something. I don't know. Yeah. So like, he's like yelling downstairs and stuff, and like, oh, what's going on? He comes upstairs, and the girl's like, oh, what were you doing down there? He's like, oh, I didn't do anything. He's like, I heard you talking to somebody. He's like, oh, I wasn't talking to anybody. I don't know what you're talking. So they all kind of like, leave, and then I think the girl goes down there, right, to see what was going on.
Well, the boyfriend's dead at this point.
Well, yeah, she goes down there to see what's going on, and the boyfriend has been killed by Max's ghost. But when the police show up, of course, because he's obviously the father of a girl who is like, having relations with this guy, he is the prime suspect.
Yes, he goes clearly. IA needs to come in,
right? Yeah,
and investigate. You did, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, the IA guy is like, wow. They're like, okay, you hate this guy for no reason. Turn it up to 12. Go. Like, he is like, the guy. He's a cop, right? His other cop friends are in the room, and this dude is flipping the fuck out. Like, okay, these cop guys should like, if this was real life, they would be like, just shut up. Where's my union representative? Like, they would not deal with that kind of shit. But whatever. This is a movie.
Yeah.
So he's like, you did it. Of course you did it. There's nobody else that could have done it. The daughter heard you screaming downstairs. Your whole family thinks you did it, which is true. They do think he did it.
Oh yeah.
And so he's like, no, I didn't do it. So they all leave, and then like a guy comes in, dressed as like an old timey private detective, who I immediately know is Meat Cleaver Max. I don't know if you immediately saw,
yes.
like, he's not disguised in any way. I'm like,
well, it doesn't help that it also has that like 10-strand ponytail, just a little bit.
Right. I'm like, okay, this is like not even a half-ass disguise. This is nothing. And he's like trying to pretend like to be a lawyer for a second, and then of course it's him, and they like comes out and he chops the table in half.
Yep.
So like he has to be
corporeal
real in some way, shape, or form somehow.
Right, because the table doesn't go back to what it was.
No, it doesn't. It stays broken. And they come in there and they look at the table like, you all right? Like, they know something happened, but no one like questions it. I guess they just, he's mad, so he punched a hole in the table.
Which there'd be, a tape in there going to.
Right. So anyway, at this point, he goes back home. His whole family is like, oh, you fucking did this. And so he's like trying to get, because the family doesn't want him in the house. And so they're like, he's trying to like tell his other cop buddies, like, get them out of the house. Like, they're in danger, like this guy's telling me, that he's going to do that. And they're like, dude, he's fucking dead. Like, he doesn't exist. Like, he's talking to his like, court appointed shrink guy or police shrink or whatever. And he's like, he's dead. He's not like, are you okay?
But luckily, scientist man.
Yeah, scientist man. So I don't know what the fuck. After like he makes his first appearance like right after the guy gets electrocuted, and he goes like, "Oh, he's not really dead," and the cop's like, "Oh, whatever. He's a fucking corpse. Right. What are you talking about?" And he doesn't reappear again until this point.
Yep.
So where Lance Henriksen like goes and finds him, or I guess they find each other in his house, because he goes to Meat Cleaver Max's like actual house, not the kitchen where he killed everybody, like his actual home that he lived
and finds a sliding door that everyone missed.
Yeah, somehow. So he talks to this guy. They basically find out They find out that he had his own home electric chair and that he had been practicing electrocuting himself for who knows how long so that he could build up a tolerance to it. And I'm like,
Like snake venom.
right. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not how electricity works. Like, I don't. You can be used to this shock, but you're not going to be able to like live through higher voltages. That's not a thing that happens. Yeah. So basically, scientist guy goes on and on about how there's fucking electromagnetic magic that is somehow keeping him alive, and that they somehow need to like lure him back to his old house where they can lock him down with electromagnetic. I don't know. It's bullshit.
He needs to be Freddy Kruegered into the real world.
Right. So, but they don't. He doesn't explain how that should happen, or how, or what you should do at all.
Enough juice to bring him back.
Yeah,
yes.
He just says you just need enough electromagnetic. Like, okay, how the fuck are you supposed to do that in a dream, dude? Like, what are you talking about?
Battery?
Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, he gives no information. So anyway, he basically gets this information. Like, okay, I guess we have to like fight him this way now. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So he goes back to his house to like try to save his family. And like he immediately goes to his son's room. Son is dead with a hole in his head, like leaking blood and shit everywhere. There's a weird scene of like, I guess kind of like insinuated like sexual assault against his daughter by Meat Cleaver Max,
who's now pregnant with a
an evil demon baby child that you can see in her belly.
Yep.
He almost shoots her belly, but then doesn't. But that, it's whatever. Things happen. and she ends up dying, right? And then the wife gets taken hostage, and then there's like a long sequence where he's like chasing her through basically the same place he was chasing the little girl through in the opening scene.
Which transforms into like electrical dam.
Right. Right, yeah, it's all over the fucking place. So anyway, they go through that. They do the dance there. The wife ends up getting killed as well. She gets her throat slit or whatever, head cut off, whatever happened there.
Yep.
And then they struggle back and forth, and then he somehow uses electrical magic to bring him back to, I guess, quote unquote, the real world.
With the wife as well, they're helping.
Yeah. And then once they come back to the real world, he just shoots him a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, they transport back to their house.
Right. Yeah, they
transport his house.
Yeah, back to the house. He shoots him a bunch of times. He dies. And then
they move.
Happy ending. Right. And everybody comes back to life. The son and the daughter and the mom are all back together, and they're all like, "Oh, he was still alive. Look, there's his body." Yeah, everybody's happy.
Yes.
Elfine.
Yep. I believe this is your first time seeing this, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I didn't know it maybe because you may have watched this because it wasn't a house series. So back in the day, you may have rented it.
Nope.
Nope.
never even heard of it.
So I guess what was your first thoughts on this then?
There is, I guess the bottom line on this film is that there is a lot of good ideas in this movie. The execution is awful. There's a lot, but there's some like interesting scenes. There's some interesting ideas here. I think with a little bit different of a presentation, I think it would have been a great movie.
Yeah.
As it is, it's okay. There's a lot of things that just make it okay. I think if they would have made it a little more cerebral instead of wacky, like the Meat Cleaver Max, like literally his fucking name, you get everything you need to know, you get from the name, right? You know exactly how he acts, right? He's over the top. He acts like the fucking Joker. Like,
yeah, he laughs like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain.
Yeah, like a hyena.
Cartoon villain.
Right, yeah. Again, it's like if he would have been a more cerebral, like kind of a slow burn, like maybe like like a Seven atmosphere type of
Yes.
villain, I think it would have been a great movie.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, again, we're in House fucking 3. We're far along in the franchise. I'm sure their budget was not very big. You know what I mean? I don't. Again, but there was a lot of surprisingly good ideas. Like when I saw Alan Smithy in the opening credits, I was like, oh fuck me. I was like, this is gonna be horrible. Like I like hit pause and went and got another drink. Like I'm like, I need to like be prepared for this. But it was surprisingly much better than I thought it was going to be. Um, it's like I said, it's still not great, but it's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. And I think with a little bit better of a presentation, I think this could have been a great film.
But now you know why I skipped number 2 and then continue.
Right. Yeah. Because, like, yeah, number 1, again, the first half is like the kind of opening to any kind of 80s schlocky horror movie, right? And then the second half is just wackiness. The second one is just all wacky. It's like doesn't even try to be horror. It's just like action adventure comedy, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then this one takes a hard turn back, like even past the first one to be like all horror again.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting turn for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't my first time seeing it. I've seen it a handful of times, and it like I said, if you don't know this is part of the House series, you wouldn't know.
No, not at all.
You
They
can
do
watch
not
it.
show it. I looked even in the end credits. They don't even show it. It doesn't even say that in like the full title at the end.
Right. So, but like I said, I appreciate this. I mean, Lance is great as always. So I do appreciate this movie for what it is on any rewatch that I have. But I probably haven't watched 2 then 3 like this that we do for the show probably in 25 years. So it's I didn't have that perspective of mind back then to really nitpick it like I do now. I was a young lad at that point. So
right.
Do you want your highlights first? Do you want me to go first?
No, I will.
Okay.
Again, Alan Smithy, man, outstanding guy. I mean, he's sometimes the writer, sometimes director. He does everything. We've gone over who Alan Smithy is before, right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, because I think what was it, Hellraiser 4? We got our first Alan Smithy.
Yeah. Short version, in case you haven't gone there, but Alan Smithy is the name that people assign to films when they want to be disowned from it. When they don't want their name to be on it, they change it to Alan Smithy so that no one knows who it is, and it doesn't end up on their movie filmography.
Which is funny because there's an actual person's name and
Right.
Alan Smithy.
Right. Right. So yeah, that's basically like this shit is so far beyond what I wanted it to be that I can't even have my name on it. So that's what else. Anyway. So again, they're trying really hard to get that R rating on this one. I mean, again, like the first scene, I think is a big middle finger to the first 2 movies of the franchise, like going like we're gonna get us off that wacky adventure island. we're gonna go back into the horror realm, and I feel like that opening sequence was really what that was.
What are you sad that? Oh, gee, Grandpa's not here.
Right. I mean, we're talking like cooked people, like like executions that gone wrong. I mean, like blood everywhere, like literally covering every surface. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. But good. I enjoyed that. Thank you, the palate cleanser from 2, because it was upsetting. Again, like you said, Lance Henriksen, I think does a great job in this movie. Again, I think he's acting in a different movie. Like he's acting in that good version of this movie where it's like dark and cerebral and like he doesn't know what's going on or not. Like I think it would be really interesting to put him in a film like this. Film would have been made in a way like, is it real? Is it not real? You know what I mean? Like, is he actually experiencing this, or is this just all in his head? Right. I was like, I had that kind of theory going for a while, but the movie just kind of ruins it because everybody sees his dead body at the end, and like, unless he's having a complete mental break at the very end, it doesn't play that way. I think it would have been more interesting if they left that open.
Yes.
But again, like I said, it's still got enough like psychological warfare, right?
Which like is in theory the essence of House,
right? Like, but I mean, again, it's not a simple slasher. Like, he kills the boyfriend in the basement so that he gets blamed for
Yep.
it. So then he has to like fight his own police department, and everybody, and even his own family thinks that he's a murderer. He's like, he does this shit on purpose. Yeah, he's like a Joker style goofy laugh slasher villain, but he's also like, you know, fighting him with his mind, like tearing apart his life. Like he said when he was dying, I'm going to tear your whole world apart. And that's literally what he's doing.
Lucas.
Right. Lucas. And again, I will say this movie is one of the very few movies where the protagonist's wife is wife aged. And I mean that in the best possible way, meaning like she's like the same age as he is.
Yeah.
Because most movies, it's like, you get your 45-year-old actor and like the wife is like 20. Like almost every fucking movie.
We'll discuss that in the next one.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, this is one, like, they're the same age and they obviously, have, well, kind of a tumultuous relationship, I guess, because he's like choking her in his sleep and shit. But it seemed like they got along well before the whole murder part.
Correct.
But again, I was just seeing a mature relationship with a woman that's his own age is an interesting find for a 1985.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I
got. All right. Alan Smith here, of course. Right. As we discussed. Like I said, Lance does an amazing job. He is acting at his finest. You know what I mean? Like, he does have a little bit of that range, right? Because obviously we see him a couple years before this as Bishop, a couple years after this as Mr. Wayland, maybe Bishop as well. And it's interesting to see him as a cop. I don't really see him as a cop often. He's just kind of
Terminator 1984.
Oh, that too, I guess. But I think he does a great job, and he's acting the hell out of the movie.
Correct.
The R-rated is what this franchise needed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it was like careening off the cliff into wackiness, and it like took a hard left the other way.
Right, which is honestly surprising because from what 1983, 85 to 1989 that we had 3 movies in these 4 years, and they are wildly different from each other.
Yeah, very much so.
So I think someone took the House franchise and they couldn't call it House, but they go, you know what, we're going to throw this in the House franchise because it's a house and it's psychological as well. But yeah, I appreciate the R rating. Like they just flat out in your face it. He said, I assume the guy's arms were chopped off as well, but his hands were still tied behind his back.
Right. Like I was like, I looked at first, I'm like, oh, his arms are chopped off. Wait a minute.
Right.
Like it's like what is supposed to be happening there? And then they cut away like before I could like get my head around it.
Yeah. But his arms definitely tied behind his back.
Right.
Which I can see the guy also just doing that and just having his severed arms attached to the behind him still. It could the movie have ended a couple of minutes earlier? Yes. Because there's still really the question of, was it real or was it not? Did Dr. Scientist Man die or not? We don't get that answer.
Well, we do, but again, some of this stuff is like it may or may not have happened because it was in the dream when they found it. Like when the police went to that house, that guy was there dead.
Right.
Because if you remember, there was a scene where Meat Cleaver Max appears there and kills him.
Right.
But again, at that point, like I said, at that point, I was still thinking like, okay, maybe this is just a mental break and Lance Henriksen is killing people as him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can't be himself or whatever, whatever it is. But
yeah,
they kind of, like I said, that final sequence really kind of ruined that for me. I was really hoping that's what it was going to be.
Well, I really wanted to see what happened. I wanted to see the cops discussing with him. What's the aftermath of a guy knowingly coming back from the dead? His body is probably still there. He's in corporeal form. His body's again dead inside Lance's house. Like, what the fuck how do you explain that?
Well, yeah, I mean, they probably would have explained it being like he faked it or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's the only rational explanation. That's what they would file it. But I mean, who knows? It's a horror movie.
But I mean,
saying like most likely that's what if it happened in real life, it would just be like he must have fainted.
yeah. I'll go into my low points of his death. It's like that. As you pointed out, you cannot build up your immunity to fucking electricity.
Right, it's not possible to do.
Like, I understand that they're trying to give a rational explanation of to why this is happening, because the other ones don't really say why. Right? It's the unknown. You're like, okay, well, this house is haunted. Cool. Why? I don't know. Next one. Why is my grandpa, who was 100 when he died, is now 170? Like, why is he built an ancient temple? Why is this Aztec temple? Why are all these things? No idea. But this one, like, they tried, but it's like the dumbest way possible. Like, it almost feels like the Alan Smithy of this was one that tried to do the hard R movie, and another guy goes, you know what? What if he can build up immunity to electricity like snake venom? The guy goes, fuck this, I'm out.
You're right, yeah. Take my name off the fucking script.
Yeah. This is a combination of two Wes Craven movies, Shocker and Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, especially the furnace, like that, and the evil laughing and cackling, like that is fucking Freddy Krueger to a T. I feel
Right.
that they're going off of, and still kind of that dreamlike state. And like I said, surprisingly a lot like Shocker before Shocker. So who knows? The therapist going, "Are you Catholic?" No, why? Well, you could have had stigmata, because I'm like, the therapist is suggesting that he has stigmata. Like, really?
Well, I think he's trying to give him a rational explanation. And I mean, to be fair, his character does go, "You're full of shit," you know that, and he smiles about it. Like he knows he's not being serious. I think he's just at that point he doesn't know if he's actually having a mental break and believes this happened in a dream, or is it just an injury. Like he's trying to like talk his way around it safe.
I
And
felt like,
with that joke, he basically tells him like, it's fine. You don't have to be
well,
scared.
I don't think stigmata generally has a meat cleaver size hole in your chest. Pretty sure it's from your feet and hands. I'm not going to say, but I don't think meat cleaver scar is stigmata. um, the son was awful human being.
Yeah.
Also, a lifetime supply of chili in one van. That's gonna go bad, man.
Well, a lot of that chili is gonna, yeah, unless you got like a walk-in freezer in your basement,
Right.
like the Hell House LLC.
That cops will never see. And speaking of things cops never see, the board. Like, so it's alluding to that before he got captured or after he died, he's still making, the threaded pictures of his, Lucas family on this board and still like stalking them. So that's a big miss, because I don't think there's much time for him realizing that Lucas was hunting him down versus the cops getting to him and making that board ahead of time. So,
well, they said like he had killed something like 100 and something people.
yeah.
So, like, if he had killed 100 and something people, and they said that Lance Henderson was on the case since the beginning, it's been a while. So
you think
he's probably had plenty of time.
Yeah, that's fair. And then his moving scar on his face.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes it looks like it was stapled shut. Sometimes it looks like it was barely there.
Yeah, but Lucas, I'm gonna get you, Lucas. And I said that,
or whatever that fucking laugh was.
Yeah, he's laughing like a cartoon rat.
Right.
And he also has that just awful rat tail man bun thing. Like, that's a choice. I don't know who was in charge of hair. Maybe it was Alan Smithy.
Very possible.
But that's what I got. How about you?
Okay, so I mean, yeah, again, why would this film be House 3? I'm just curious. Why wouldn't you just make it its own thing? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It doesn't seem like it needs to be House 3. I don't know. Was there somebody involved in this that was like intentionally trying to make it in the House franchise? I don't.
Well, I think Sean Cunningham was involved with all of them.
Yeah, I don't know why. Again, they tried really hard to say it wasn't there at all. Anyway, so it's just why is the big
Hmm.
question. The whole movie parts in the beginning, the intro was super fucking annoying. Like it was like overdubbed, and then it was okay. It's overdubbed with like you could tell the actors were just sitting there like watching this film and then like trying to like comment and be funny about it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was fucking terrible. It was excruciatingly long intro, and then it went right into fucking meat cleaver Max and deep fried head. So like I forgot about it quickly, but I did write it down before before I got there. Again, like death row is not quick. Your leave of absence would have been like 20 fucking years at the minimum. And like if the guy goes in there and says, "Yeah, I don't want I plead guilty. I don't want to fucking appeal a million times, just kill me." It still takes like 10 years because you have to do an appeal. Period. Doesn't matter if you're guilty or not, you have to do at least one appeal before you can even go through with it. So like you have to go through two whole fucking trials before you can get to that point of being executed. And then you go on death row, and again, it's still years. Even though it's 1989, it's still like at least a 10-year long process, unless maybe it was in Texas, but I don't think it was in Texas. So yeah, so his leave of absence was like 10 years. I don't think they would just welcome you back. Hey, here's your gun. Come on and be a cop again, even though you've been a cop for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, executions. Executions are not an open room. Okay,
What?
like where the guy is getting executed, there is a fucking wall and a one-way mirror. They cannot see who's watching. You can see them. They cannot see you. That's a thing. That's a no-no. And in this one, they were just all sitting in like a big bathroom. It was weird looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not how it works. Again, yeah. How many times is the fucking furnace door gonna open? Like, just lock it. Fucking get a hook on it. Like, I don't duct tape. I don't know what the fuck you got to do, but dear God,
Well,
the house is
flames
gonna
keep
catch on
spilling out
fire
this.
even faster.
The flames keep spilling out the side of the thing.
Right. Like, and they're keeping clothes like on racks near the thing, and like this is asking for trouble.
Hmm.
Okay, that '89 fashion. Holy Christ. I had to live through that shit, and I don't want to revisit it. It's terrible. The shoulder pads with the stirrup pants and the
Yeah.
giant hair. Um, yeah, like everybody. Okay, the hair was not as bad in this film as it was in the next movie, but we'll get there. That electromagnet explanation, dude, that was holy shit. I don't really like, dude. You weren't talking out of your ass. Like you're not even trying to sound scientific. You just sound like you're making shit up. Obviously, he
But
was, but like he's supposed to be the scientist. Like,
that's why he's Dr. Scientist Man.
yeah, like he should have been wearing a tinfoil hat because he sounded like a fucking like conspiracy theorist or something. Okay, yeah, like electrocution practice, like you said, that's not a thing you can do. Sorry. Yeah, but again, the janky, meat cleaver Max, just way over the top. Just that laugh and everything. It's again, you can't. This movie would have been so much better if they didn't lean into that kind of campiness of his character. If he would have been a slow burn, kind of like a fallen villain,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? That would have been, I think, a much better film. It would have been much more interesting. But the other thing that bothered me is in the very beginning of the movie, he has a cat named Cosmo, right?
Yep.
And it's very clearly a long haired cat.
Hmm.
And at the end of the movie, where Cosmo comes back to life, it is very clearly a short haired cat.
He
It's the
got
same color, but
he
it's
got a
very
haircut.
clearly a different cat.
He got a haircut. Come on.
Yeah, he got a haircut and lost like 5 years of age. But yeah, it was definitely not the same cat. But that's all I got.
All right.
So, House 3, The Horror Show, 1989. I guess we're just doing bad puppets again because it's the same franchise. So, how many bad puppets out of 10 would you give House 3 the horror show?
All right, it's like I said, this is easily better than number 2.
Correct.
And I just did some quick research. It was House 3 everywhere outside the United States, but they marketed it inside the US differently because it's so vastly different than the House franchise. It was
So
always
it's like
it was,
the Road Warrior.
it was always meant to be a House movie.
Okay. I would say so. It's like the Road Warrior. The Road Warrior in the U.S. is the Road Warrior. The Road Warrior everywhere else in the world is Mad Max 2.
Yes.
So
Yes. But that being said, this is a damn good entry to this franchise. Like I said, do I think it's as good as the first one or even better? That's a strong possibility. I do like this movie, but I also really like House 1. So that all being said, I will give the same score, 6.5 bad puppets out of 10. How about you?
yeah, to me, this is very clearly the high point in this franchise. I like it better than all of the other ones. Yeah, but it's not quite at the level where I would want to watch it by itself. So I'll still keep it under my classic rewatch 7, but I'll give it a 6.
A 6.
Yeah.
Now, as you said before, this one in particular would be a fantastic remake.
It would be very easy to remake. Again, all you have to do is get rid of the wackiness and put in a slow burn, like a 7 type atmosphere. You got a winner, right? I mean, I think it would be great.
Yeah. Let's make it. We can get Lance.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He might be in the Deadpool.
All right.
Okay, so now we move on to 1992 and House for the Repossession.
God damn this movie. All right.
Yeah.
It seems like, I'm saying right now, seems like it was made for TV.
Right. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, the weirdest thing about this movie is the fucking plot and the villain does not appear until an hour into the movie.
Yes.
There's literally an hour lead up to what is supposedly the quote unquote plot of this film. And it's only an hour and a half long.
Yes. All right. So we'll jump ahead. Roger Cobb is back for a little bit. Now he has a different wife, and instead of a son, a daughter. And instead of his aunt's house being what was there, it's now his parents' house or his grandparents' house. They had him generations. His parents died, and like, all right, we got to have this house. The duration, it's like cool. His now slimy half brother or step brother that came out of nowhere, trying to buy it. And like, all right, well, we're gonna do something with this house. Cool. They meet a shaman who's also a practicing Christian, and he's just in the basement for some reason as he's looking at the most piss poor wood cover up job of, I'll call it now, the spring. There's an ancient springberry. What? How do you know it's down there? Well, there's some loose boards right here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like if you were casually walking in the basement, you would definitely fall and break your foot.
Yes. I'm also call it right now. It really seemed like he set up the spring to do what's next in the movie, because he's doing some ritual, and all of a sudden the car just overturns, and the mom gets Kelly gets the daughter out, and well, William or Roger gets blown up. To a point you think of death, but now, no, sorry, he's a charred husk in a hospital bed.
That ain't the goose.
We should probably pull the plug. Yeah, I'm like, he doesn't look like he has arms and legs. He's just like a burnt husk. So they pulled the plug, and now he's dead. I don't know how he survived that explosion.
But not before her mascara runs from all the tears, man.
Yes. And we find out it's been 6 months, a week. I don't know how much time later. It is, but she's like moving to the house.
Okay, with the vibe of this movie, it's like 6 weeks later.
Yeah. And her dad's helping move in. Like, honey, he shouldn't be here. Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah, and then and Dad never comes back. Dad is now gone from the film. But I think my favorite part is now Laurel, the daughter, is paralyzed. And
from unknown things.
yeah, from the car accident. And they give her a wheelchair from like 1875.
It's a wooden like basket weaved
Right.
backing.
I'm like, you guys couldn't afford a regular wheelchair? What the fuck? You stop at an antique store?
I'm also saying this now. I don't feel like the struggle that the mom had getting the chair in and out. I don't think she brought her up the stairs.
Right. And I was like, who the
At
fuck is
all.
carrying this 1875 fucking wheelchair up the stairs?
Right. Yeah, so the daughter's paralyzed and she's like moving into the house, and then, well, spooky things start happening. She trips and drops her flashlight into the spring and finds it relatively fast. And then we get
And
house.
absolutely nothing happens from it.
Yes.
She sees it like, oh, okay. And then we don't hear about it for another 45 minutes.
Yep. So anyway, then we have a maid or a housekeeper show up. I'm just here to pay. Someone paid for my services. Was it my dad? I don't know, but I'm here. Do you have a vacuum? And she starts like snooping through the house like she's gonna steal shit.
Verna Klump is her name.
Yeah,
Come on.
Clump. So anyway, more things are happening. The stepbrother wants to buy the house. She's like, no, I'm living here. He's like, okay. And then they call in the plumber, which is
Well, no, first he goes, well, he was my brother, so when he dies, that means I get it.
Right.
And she's like, no, I'm his wife. You're his stepbrother. Like, it
I
goes
was
to
blood-
me, and he's like, oh, damn it. He just like walks away. I'm like, you drove all the way to fuck out there for that argument? Like, what are you, stupid?
You know all these legal terms.
Right. Oh man, I forgot you're his wife. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. So anyway, she calls a plumber because she's, rust-colored water is pouring out. It smells like blood. The plumber's like, it's all good. It was a pleasure working on his pipes. And then proceeds to not wash his hands by touching her, the check, and then everything on his way out. He was disgusting.
Classic
Yeah.
plumber.
Right. But yeah. So anyway, all that's kind of go on there. And, well, like I said, she wakes up, she starts having like, is it real? Is it not? She has a blood shower. She appears in her daughter's room because she's like, gets attacked by, let's call it pillow fluff demon arms. And pulls her into the bed. And she's like stabbing through the bed like she's going to find her because this knife magically appeared. And she's going to do one last stab. And like her daughter reappears. She's like, oh shit, I can't do this. Almost stabbing her, drops the knife. And daughter's like, oh, that's weird. She does have a dog lamp named Algernon, which was not a good name for a dog. If you know what the name Algernon is from, it'd be for a mouse. Anyway, so that's going on there. All of a sudden, one night, two guys in a snake mask and a easily Vincent Price the Fly mask break in, and the mom doesn't really hear it, but they like start picking on the girl in the wheelchair. They drop some candy, blah blah blah, and like they get scared out by the dog Algernon, who turns into a good boy and jumps out the window, and they jump from the second story window. They're somehow okay, but the poor lamp ceramic dog shatters into pieces after he jumps out the window.
Well, the best part is that the dog is wearing the lampshade as a hat.
Yeah.
As he's chasing around the house.
Yeah. So, anyway, she's realizes that she can't keep all this stuff up. We have the I believe the whole pizza man.
That was the yard. That was after the yard sale.
After the yard sale, yeah. When the pizza,
I'm your pizza man. I'm your pizza man.
God damn that song. So anyway, she's like, and then like, his face appears, pizza man. And like girl's freaking out. She's like stabbing it. She's like, honey, what do you see? She's like, oh my God, anchovies. Ew. And then the pizza still proceeds to come alive and like get shoved down the drain and attacking her through the garbage disposal her, and she's stabbing it. And she freaks out. And then she just feeds her kid some, who knows how old macaroni and cheese.
Well, the box looked, I mean, It's funny because the box was a modern box. Like the macaroni and cheese box has evolved over the years, so it's
Mhm.
very clearly a modern age macaroni and cheese box. But they're trying to pretend like it's been in the house for 100 years, which obviously it has not.
Right, and also, I don't typically eat my macaroni with the box next to me that I made it from.
When you're trying to make a point, you do.
Sure. Anyway, you know, the stepbrother meets with his two goons that got scared of the house at uh chemical is progress. Chemicals are the future. And we get a bunch of, toxic waste being spray painted, non-toxic waste, very Looney Tunes evil right there.
Yeah,
And
very, very,
right.
great plan for a chemical company.
And they apparently encourage people to be shirtless while we're handling the toxic waste.
I mean, how else are you going to absorb it into your body?
I guess. um, so then they meet the mob boss who is disgustingly puking up phlegm into a cup, and he
Okay,
tells
no, 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 no. He uses a phlegm-o-matic, and he sticks the tube in his throat, and it sucks the phlegm out in like a uh, what do you like? I don't know, one of those.
glass goblet.
Yeah, like it pumps it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's constantly producing phlegm, but sometimes he gets so thick he can't talk, and he has to suck it out again with a phlegm-o-matic.
Mhm.
And his name is Mister Grosso.
Yeah, I'm trying to not remember that scene. But essentially, yeah, he's like, you gotta do this because there's a natural spring there. Yeah, we're gonna dump all this toxic waste in there. It's a win-win. Get her out of the house. By the way, here's my cup of phlegm. Drink it. And he's forced to drink it. They get the candy from there, and ooh, candy. And that comes into play later. So eventually the stepbrother comes back to the house, and she's like, "Hey, here's a deed. You're going crazy. I'll buy this off." She's like, "Oh, want a piece of candy?" She goes, "Where'd you get that candy? How'd you know that my daughter was, hurt in the hospital?" "Oh, you told me." "Something's not right here. Get out. This is my house." um. So eventually, the guys come back, the goons come back to the house and are ready to, uh, destroy it, get them out of there. Uh, Verna comes back with her daughter, and they're in the basement about to, light it on fire. And they start seeing snakes, bugs, and start shooting at each other until they kill each other. And conveniently shoot a huge hole in the floor, which the daughter is able to see, and the fire still gets lit. Um, so the house starts on fire, and eventually, the daughter gets trapped. The mom, Kelly, comes back to save her, and she then has a dream of Roger. He's alive. Oh, you're dead. It's not time for you to go now, Kelly. You must stay here. You must stay. And all that's going on there. And the daughter's coming out. She's able to get her out as she wakes up. I missed something where she goes talk to the shaman Christian guy. He's like, yeah, there's a natural spring there that my family owned, and it's been on there, forever. It's a healing spring, and it was a wedding present to your great grandparents, or Roger's great grandparents. It's been the family since, but we kind of want it back. So anyway, then the spring decides, you know what? I'm good now. I'm not going to try to haunt people anymore. So, she is healed and is able to, the daughter's healed with the water touching her legs. She's walked her up, get out of there. And another thing I missed was a flashback where she saw that it was the stepbrother and the goons that shot the tire of the car to kill Roger. They didn't kill all of them. So, then she's able to, convince cops that it's there. And then we see the stepbrother confessing to Mr. Grosso, like, oh, plan's working out perfectly. And then lo and behold, it was an illusion. And he's confessing to Verna, who was an undercover FBI agent.
And I think the most ironic part about that is that during all of the times when they could have actually used her help,
Uh-huh.
when like people were breaking into their house, threatening their lives, like multiple times, like they were attacked in their home. She
Uh-huh.
was nowhere to be found.
Yes.
And then, like, after everything happens, she conveniently shows up. I was an FBI agent. You're like, yeah, thanks for nothing.
Yep.
You're supposed to be assigned to protect us, and you're fucking gone for half the movie.
Yes. End of movie. Right. So I haven't watched this one in a long time. And I'll say it right now as my first thought slash rewatches. It really does feel like a made for TV movie. You know, it except for the nudity, obviously, but it's still like it feels in the same vein of Damien or the Omen 4, The Awakening, or whatever that was. It felt like it's about the same time frame too. It just felt like it was like maybe even like an HBO original movie
of that era. Yes,
of that era. Yeah, that's all I can really say about that. Is my first thought in rewatches. What about you? What was your first thought on this?
My first thought is my first time seeing this movie, and I really hope is my fucking last time seeing this movie. That's all I really want to say about that.
So if we have a chance to sponsor this movie, you don't want to sponsor
No.
Okay.
I would 3. Yes, I'm on board with 3. 3 is a diamond in this shit pile of franchise. But yeah, 4 no, nope. 1, 2, or 4, nope.
Right.
Okay, but high points.
You want me to go first?
No,
okay.
You go first. What do you got?
Maybe she's going crazy. I don't know. Maybe she's not. That we'll get into that part of it in low points. But it still kind of adheres to the trauma of the underlying tone of the franchise. So at least they're consistent in it, right? So I do appreciate that. Maybe now there's a like spiritual, supernatural explanation to all this shit, not someone just building up immunity to electric chairs or building a house as old Aztec temple to house a crystal skull. But at least there's some reasoning really behind the supernatural pieces of this movie. I think the woman that plays Kelly, who's in other things, I think she did a decent job, especially in comparison to everyone else in this movie. So I do appreciate that. That's all I got for my highlights.
Okay, my highlights is I thought it was great that the Roger just died immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him back, retconned his entire character and his entire reason for being there, and then just fucking killed him. Like, he's your legacy. He's the whole reason that you like tried to bring this franchise back to its roots, and he's just dead.
Yep.
It was just a bizarre choice, but that's where we're at. Okay, I didn't, when she moved back into the house, everybody's like, oh, man, this is an old house. Like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm going to restore it. And she says, I bought a bunch of books. I'm going to restore it with books. That's awesome, because that is the way that it used to be.
Yes.
If you wanted to know how to build a deck, you would buy the Time Life book on building decks, and you would try to do it yourself. That's how it used to be. And that's what she was doing, and that was cool. And I thought it was really, really interesting that the Native Americans said that they freely gave the land to
the white man.
The white man. I was like, freely gave it to him. Like, that's interesting. Like, that's very rarely ever happens, if ever, right? In movies like this, it's usually the other way around. Usually it's some stolen burial ground or whatever.
Right.
But it was something that was freely given to them for safekeeping, and they want to keep it that way, which is just very interesting. Okay, so here's my lows. That's all I got for highs. Lows, like, what happened to Jimmy? Like, Jimmy was the whole reason for the first movie. Like, that was his whole character, was looking for fucking Jimmy. And now Jimmy doesn't even exist. He's been written out of existence.
Yep.
I thought that was great. And again, like, he specifically said in the first movie that his parents died when he was a baby and he was raised by his aunt.
Yes.
Okay, so when did you have this conversation with your father about keeping this house in the family? Like, as a baby, you had this conversation.
And when did you get a younger stepbrother?
Right. Well, yeah. Who knows? I don't know what the fuck was going on there. Again, the ancient fucking wheelchair. I'm like, I feel bad for that girl. Like, because she was like, what? Like, I don't know, 80 pounds? Like,
Yeah.
how's she gonna crank around that giant 1870s wheelchair?
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. And I swear her hair kept getting bigger as the movie went on.
Oh, it did.
It was like this, at the beginning it seemed like normal early 90s hair, right? And then by the end of it, it was like this giant mane of just like curly fluff that was at least like a foot off of her head in all directions. Okay, now right after the Pizza Man song, but before they sat down, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna have pizza now. Go get the knives and forks." Who the fuck uses a knife and a fork to eat pizza?
George Costanza.
Yeah, like we're fucking savages. We eat pizza with our hands. Knives and forks for pizza, that's a red flag. Anybody want, if you say you're having pizza and they say, "Where's your knife and fork?" That's a red flag. Run the other way. Okay. Now again, well, I already said this at the beginning, but the plot and the villain don't appear until 1 hour in.
Mhm.
Like Mr. Grosso does not appear until after 1 hour is in. So like, yeah, the stepbrother has asked them for the house a couple of times, but he just seems like a shitty guy that's probably like trying to sell it to flip and make money, right?
Yes.
But like the actual villain and the entire plot and the reason for this movie existing does not show up until an hour into the film, which is a bold move.
It
Mr.
did not pay off.
Grosso, yeah, Mr. Grosso is like just completely
God.
useless as a character. He was only in like 2 scenes.
Mhm.
Oh, it's just so stupid. The Phlegmatic was fucking disgusting.
Yes.
And then like Verna Klump, like one, yeah, she's an FBI agent, but she wasn't around to help her when any of like danger was involved. And 2, what the fuck was the point? Like
Right.
the stepbrother wasn't going to get the house anyway. Like he's already doesn't get what he wanted. I understand you like kind of shoehorned in like, "Oh, he shot the car." Like, you don't even need that. You know what I mean? Like those are all pointless. Like you're trying to like wrap this up in a bow like, "Oh, everything's happy." I don't think you need to do that. It like purposely made the ending worse and worse by like trying to wrap up all these little things. I'm like, "Come on, just let it go."
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yes. The retcon of House 1. Easily the most egregious thing of this.
I mean, I didn't really give a shit about House 1. I don't really care about the legacy of House 1. I just thought it was hilarious that his entire reason for existing in House 1 is retconned out of the 4th one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't get it. Obviously, Pizza Man.
Oh, come on. I'm your pizza man.
If I ordered a pizza and that happened, I would just close the door and not have pizza.
Yeah, like you want your tip? If you want the tip, then shut your fucking mouth.
Exactly. Plumber hands. I understand that you work it but like it clearly leaves like a handprint stain on his door when he's leaving. And
maybe that was his revenge for again, like maybe he didn't want to come out there and they called him all the way the fuck out there and he's like, "All right, well, fuck you people."
Yeah, maybe.
I think his comment about, "Oh, just thanks for the joy of letting me look at your pipes." I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be sarcasm.
I took it that he's trying to be a sexual creep.
I know. No, the movie, like, tried to make him do that. But I'm like, in real life, that's probably sarcasm, and he probably put his nasty hands all over it to fucking piss them off.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about you. If I moved into a house and my water looked like that, I could never drink it.
Water look like what?
The rust sludge.
Oh. Well, that's gonna happen if your pipes have been sitting for years.
I'm just saying, like in my head, I can never drink a glass of water from that pipe.
Well, that's what water filters are for.
I know. The Phlegmatic glass scene, that was just awful.
So nasty.
You talk about wife appropriate ages. There's only a 15-year age gap between the wife and daughter in real life. The daughter was fucking 20 in real life.
Wow. Was she really?
Yeah.
She did not look 20.
Yeah, I'm like, I had to look it up, like, the wife doesn't seem that old. And she doesn't. Okay.
No, she's playing 80s wife age. I mean, yeah. I know this is early 90s, but it's still playing that early wife age where, like the dad is always like 40, 50, and the
Yeah.
mom is always like 25, no
Yeah.
matter how old the children.
It's not even that. Yeah. Your 80s house. Yeah. It's like a Christmas Story, right? The dad's like 60 and the mom's like 25.
Right? Yeah.
So okay. The goons, right? You remember that goofy like cop music they had for those two cops in fucking Halloween 5? I
Yeah.
expected that to come like snakes, bugs, just like blowing in the jug type of comedy music.
That should have been I'm your pizza man.
God damn, yeah. They were just so over the top, cheesy characters. Everyone except Kelly the mom,
Right.
right? Is the house evil or not? Like it tricked her into almost stabbing her daughter to death, but then it saves them. Make up your mind, house. Which one are you?
Well, okay, dude, if you were a house and no one had been living in you for a really long fucking time, like you got to pass the time somehow,
I guess.
right? So yeah, fuck with people because that's all you got.
But like it's the shaman going it's a good thing, and like it just tried to trick her into killing
Okay,
her
I'm pretty
daughter.
sure the house gave her an orgasm later.
That's true.
So you got to be cruel to be kind. You know what I'm saying?
I guess, but like it really felt like this is where Alan Smithy should have been with two
Right? Yeah,
different people.
I would not want my name associated with this pile of shit for sure. I would be like, no, take my name off. I don't care.
Yeah, the story's by 4 people,
Yeah.
and it probably shows the inconsistencies that are there with.
They probably
characters.
got him really drunk, and they were like, you know what would be great if he did this? And it was a joke, right? That everybody's supposed to laugh at. And they were just like, interesting. They just wrote it down like a note. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I can't. This is an atrocious thing, quite honestly. Apparently, one of the writers is an English former cricketer, so that's cool. Joffrey Miller. Yeah, I like that he looked at some people saying this installment is a slightly more effective return to the horror comedy formula that made the original a surprise hit. Now, number 3 was the surprise hit in this disaster.
Again, yeah, the number 3 is my favorite in this franchise, like hands down.
Yeah.
I don't like horror comedies, so I'm not the best person to judge them. But I did not like 1. I really did not like 2, and I really don't like this movie either.
Yeah. So I guess then, what's your rating on the Bad Puppets out of 10?
The second one I did not like, but I felt like it made more sense than this movie did. So I'm gonna have to go lower. I'm gonna have to go to it's not that much 3. I'll give it a 3 Bad Puppets out of 10. It's not that much worse, but it is definitely worse.
Yes, I completely agree with that assessment. It's watching stuff like this makes me want with the other part of things that I do to actually do our ideas in this franchise, bring it back, but make it what it should be. I think House 4, the repossession, shows why the franchise stopped, quite honestly.
Oh yeah, there's nothing left.
So for that reason, this is easily the worst one for me as well. I'm going to a 3 Bad Puppets out of 10 on this one.
All right. I can finally close the book on this fucking franchise unless there's anything else you want to add.
No. Let's bury this. Let's get our deed back.
All right. The House franchise episodes are now over. Let's move on to something of a palate cleanser before we slide into more spooky season films. Our October Spooktacular continues next episode with The House on Haunted Hill. Yes, we're doing the original 1959 Vincent Price classic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're doing the, successful 1999 remake. And then it was successful enough to spawn a sequel to that movie when the original did not have a sequel. So it's supposedly not very good. I didn't see the sequel. I did see the remake. I did not see the sequel to the remake. I don't have high hopes for it, but I guess
Did you see the original?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, the sequel is kind of one of those underrated maybe gems straight to DVD type thing. I don't want to spoil it for you before you see it.
Oh yeah, I've not seen it, so I will find out.
Yes.
But it's not that long because we're doing too many episodes this month of October. We're doing 2 weeks, so yeah, just a couple of days we'll have that one out there. So and then after that we're doing Terrifier after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there we're doing House on Haunted Hill, then Terrifier, and then some other fun spooky season type films after that. So
Yes.
remember, we watch bad movies so you don't have to.
And this has been Graveyard saying, "Have you checked on the children?"
And this is Salem saying, "Long live the new flesh."
Good night.